just a fantastic facility. I dare you to try to find a blade of grass or a tree or a bush that hasn't been properly manicured. It is just a spectacular facility. We love coming here every year, and we're going to start the racing festivities off on the Advanced Auto Parts IndyCar Radio Network with a pair of Indy Lights races. Out of turn number 17, Kyle Kaiser on the pole. Alignment is almost perfect. Green flag. We wait for it. We wait for it. Tom Hansing will wave it. We are racing. No start. And David, we've got problems. Colton Herta has damaged the front wing, and we've got Pato O'Ward who's gone up over the top of the rear wing of Santi Urrutia. So it was a slow crawl down to the start-finish line, and we've already got a handful of cars with damage before we've officially seen the green flag.
That's one thing back to good old short track racing. You never say no start until they get a little ways down the road, but Colton Herta with definite damage. What he tried to do was not only cut back behind our leader Kaiser, he tried to get underneath of him, and there just was no room and ran right back into the back of him. He has some damage on the front of his car. Unfortunately, that balled everybody up when they said no start, and man, they got debris laying everywhere.
Boy, we will await some reports from pit lane once some of those cars make their way back to pit lane. But from my vantage point, it looks like it was at least 3 cars that sustained damage. It was our points leader, Colton Herta, who started to the outside of the front row. It was Santi Urrutia, who started 4th, and Pato O'Ward, who started 6th. So, Davey, it was the 3 cars on the outside, outside of row 1, 2, and 3. Rob Howden, you're down there on pit lane, and I'm sure things going to get awful busy here in moments.
Yeah, Nick Yeoman, you were bang on. We have 3 teams scrambling to grab spare equipment. Pato O'Ward's Team Pelfrey squad, Andretti Autosports crew for Colton Herta. They've all brought front wings out. Of course, a rear wing, the Bellardi Auto Racing crew ready to rock and roll here for Santi Urrutia. Still no start as we're seeing the yellow flag still being shown here at start finish. Herta, for some reason, did not come into pit lane here, Nick Yeoman. This could be interesting. The team wonder what happened there.
I'm not, and Davey, you bumped me on the shoulder and say, what is he doing?
What is going on? Yeah, Colt should have definitely came in and get that nose fixed before they threw the green to just make sure he stays on the lead lap. Now, I know that he's probably trying to catch up, but if they go to try to throw a green this time, it would leave him in serious trouble. So that was interesting.
Well, of course, oftentimes when we see no start, we just line them back up, and on the next lap we go green. But with the damage, and as you mentioned, lots of debris, it's going to be a little while. Here's something to keep your eye on, though. This is a 30-lap race or 45-minute session, so the clock has already started. 98 car, pace car speed. Please come back to the field. So the 98 of Colton Herta was trying to pull away and rush back around to pit lane. IndyCar, the Indy Lights Series, is going to ask that he return back to pit lane or back to pace speed with the rest of the field. Let's check in with Ryan Marine down on pit lane.
Down in the Team Pelfrey pit area where Pato O'Ward just pulled in for some quick rhinoplasty, a nose change on the front of that car, some serious damage to the initial wing that they started with there on the front nose cone. That has been replaced. That's it. They did give it a quick look over as far as suspension is concerned, but it seems like it was just that nose of the race car that was damaged when it got up on the back of Santi Urrutia's Bellardi with SPM entry at the start of the non-start of the race, as it were. So we'll send it down pit road to Rob Howden for updates on that side.
Yeah, Ryan, lots of work down here as Aaron Tielitz also had a front wing damage and right front tire as well. They replaced the wing, they replaced the right front Cooper, and Aaron Tielitz down and away already, but this is going to be a major work for Santi Urrutia. They've got the rear cowl off the car. They got to pull the whole rear attenuator off at this point here. There's a lot of damage to that rear wing here. So Nick Yeoman, they got work to do here for Santi Urrutia.
All right, so we saw not 3 but 4. We, as mentioned, Aaron Tielitz came to pit lane as well. So that's 1, 2, 3, and 6 in Indy Lights points, all getting damaged to start this event. And the Indy Lights Series has just told Colton Herta, you can't check out on the field and hustle back to pit lane. They want him in line in second position when he sustained that damage before he gets the repairs on pit lane. So they've got some massive issues there in terms of getting that car placed. Again, Colton Herta now leaving pit lane. Let's go back to pit lane, and we'll check in with Ryan Marine.
Rob Howden down here with Colton Herta, Nick, and obviously it was just kind of routine service for him to get that new front wing looked at. They put the new wing on, they had a look at the car, no damage, of course, to the front of the car as well, but again, still work. Nick going down here on Santi Urrutia, they are working hard to get this new wing on, but again, everything bent. The whole the upright for the wing is actually bent over. They're having a hard time getting that thing off.
Further down pit lane, Ryan Marine, you've got more.
Yeah, I was actually watching that same stop from the other side. It was a very quick one for the Andretti Steinbrenner team, but certainly got the car back out there for Colton. He was pretty anxious to get back out on track, a pretty ferocious burnout leaving pit lane, and got a little bit tight on the exit as he was trying to negotiate his way around the Bilardi team that's still working on Santi Urrutia.
So Colton Herta has been told by the Indy Lights Series to head to the back of the pack after those repairs. Davey, you've had a chance to see a couple different replays of that opening lap.
Yeah, it really looks like when Herta crossed over to try to go from the outside to the inside, which he probably should have been side by side with him, I guess is what they're saying, but he just clipped Kaiser's left rear wheel, which I wouldn't be surprised that Kaiser may not have some left tire damage. I mean, he hit it pretty good to knock the nose completely off of Herta's car. And then from then on, I'm a little confused, but I guess Herta took off where he's supposed to be pace car speed, and so they're just holding him till like it's come down for the green right now, I think. But Herta is going to have to come in to the pits.
So let's reset as Kyle Kaiser leads the field out of turn number 17. We're finally going to go green flag racing. It's Kaiser followed by Jamin. Then you've got Neil Alberico running in the front three. Green flag is up in the air. And finally, we're off to pacing around Barber Motorsports Park. It is Kyle Kaiser by about 2 or 3 car lengths over Nico Jamin. Little smoke further back as Dalton Kellett's going to get challenged to the outside by Matthias Laced. But the leader is Kyle Kaiser out of turn number 4.
Yeah, about a car length advantage as Nico Jamin starts to close in. Jamin starts to look to the inside. Indeed, he will tuck that nose and get around the pole sill Kyle Kaiser. So a nice pass by Nico Jamin out of the gate. He'll already gap him about 2 car lengths. So Jamin, Kyle Kaiser, then it's Neil Alberico, your top 3. Matteo Lace, about 5 car lengths behind in 4th.
When you get to the bottom of the elevation change of turn number 9, sometimes heading into that straight, it gives you an opportunity to pounce if you're trying to make a move. But right now, nobody is able to make that move on Jamin. He still has a comfortable 2-car advantage over Kyle Kaiser.
Davey, that's one of the best passing points on the racetrack down there at the bottom of the hill in turn 5, and Nico Jamin jumped all over Kaiser on that restart.
Yeah, probably the best braking zone that we have on this track, and so that does make it the best passing point. And I think Kaiser may be filling his car out. You can see he's losing a little bit of grip, but I still wonder about that tire, that left rear tire that he's got.
Off of turn number 17 to complete the first lap at speed with 26 now to go. It is Nico Jamin by about 5 or 6 car lengths leading Kyle Kaiser into turn number 1. Kaiser locks him up as they climb back down the hill, and he is under pressure. Here comes Neil Alberico, Michael Young, just 1 car length behind Kaiser running in second.
Yeah, indeed. And for Kyle Kaiser, who we thought would probably be the quickest out there, struggling the early portion of this race. So Santi Urrutia back out on the track, and he's about 2 seconds ahead of our leader, Nico Jamin. Then it's Kaiser, then it's that machine of Neil Alberico. Mateus Lace runs 4th. Dalton Kellett just lost a position. He is now dropped to the 6th place.
I'll tell you what, getting very, very squirrely at times coming into turn number 9, really everybody in the field. But Jamin about a 3-car length advantage over Kaiser, then Alberico about 2 car lengths behind him.
Rob Howden, you could hear a car firing up on pit lane moments ago. Was that Santi Urrutia who just left pit lane?
Indeed it was. He pulled out essentially right in front of the leaders as they came through. Not right in front. He had enough room to be able to get out there, probably about 8 or 9 car lengths in front. So Santi's going to have to step it up and see if he can't keep himself in front of your leader at this point. But yes, Santi Urrutia, they were able to get the rear wing put on the car. He's back out, albeit a lap down.
Yeah, a couple laps down actually to be official, and he's just moved over to let Nico Jamin by. So that's a nice sportsmanlike move for Santi Urrutia to let the leader go by because he is certainly not in contention. So it's Jamin, Kaiser, then Alberico, followed by Lace and Clayman DeMello. In fact, the Carlin Racing Machines running 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Michael Young as the leaders head to turn 5.
Yeah, that machine of Santi Urrutia, the gold color aero machine for Bilardi Auto Racing, Schmidt Peter Motorsports Sports, will fall to the wayside. Actually moves to the inside. He allows Kyle Kaiser to move by, but that really gave Nico Jamin. Jake Query, you'll see Jamin right now, and it's a bit before you'll see that 2nd place machine of Kyle Kaiser.
I'll tell you what, Urrutia the last time by, as Rob had mentioned, had cycled out in front of the field, and in doing so got a little bit loose. You would think that Jamin, if there was an opportunity for Kaiser to get to him, would have perhaps seized it right then. But Urrutia now is doing the sportsmanlike thing. He let the entire field, Nick, go past him the last time by.
Davey found a good spot on the racetrack and did what you should do.
Yeah.
Move over and let everyone go.
What a class act, really. He knows he's out of the game, and really not his fault. He got ran over on that first lap. He didn't do anything wrong. He just got ran over from behind, and and obviously frustrated, but knowing, looking at the big picture, let the field go by, don't impede the leaders, which that's normally him. You know what I mean? So he pulled over, let him go, and let the guys race.
Change for the 9th position as Pato O'Ward just got around Nico DePero in turns 16 and 17. DePero lights him up, smokes him up right in front of Ryan Norman, and they're in front of a couple of interested spectators, number 1 and 2 in points. Colton Herta and Aaron Tielitz. Michael Young towards the back of the pack are points leaders in heavy traffic.
For 9th and 10th right now, Nicholas DePero, and that machine right behind him, Ryan Norman. Norman closed in on that rear wing, stuck the look inside, and then thought better of it, then got back in line. So for Nicholas DePero, able to now gap that Norman machine by about 2 car lengths.
Jamin has such a big gap at this point, Nick, that it almost looks like he is one of those that got cycled back at the beginning of this race and found himself towards the back of the field trying to get back on the lead lap. He's got about an 18 car length advantage this lap.
French driver for Andretti Autosport. Last time across the line, the gap from him back to Kyle Kaiser was 2 full seconds, and then just 0.6 of a second back to Neil Alberico. Keeping an eye, though, on some of these drivers, again, that were involved in the opening lap accident, one of which was our points leader, Colton Herta. As he comes off of turn number 17, Davey, he's running down Norman and DePero right there in front of him.
Yeah, he definitely has speed on them, but he's been there for quite a while. Actually, pretty much this whole race, him and Titus, and they're nose to tail, but just can't get by. Just very difficult to pass. Herta locking up his tires, getting into Alabama roller coaster, but just loses ground. And when it's time to accelerate and get going, we'll see what he does down here in this our braking zone, see if he can take advantage of it.
Yeah, we know he has an awful fast race car. He wouldn't have started second if he didn't, and certainly with his start to the season, he is certainly a championship contender. He's all over the rear wing, Jake Query, of his teammate Ryan Norman. Our points leader, Colton Herta, buried right now, though, all the way back in 12th.
Yeah, it's got to be frustrating, too, because you want to get on your giddy-up, but at the same time, you want to make sure that there is no further damage to that car. He only has 2 vehicles at this point behind him, not able to make any sort of a gap between himself and his teammate just in front.
So it is Nico Jamin, Kyle Kaiser, Neil Alberico, Matthias Leist, Zachary Clayman-DeMello, your top 5. Dalton Kellett runs in the 6th position. Shelby Blackstock is 7th. Juan Pedrojita is 8th. His teammate Pato O'Ward runs in 9th. Nicholas DePero is in the 10th position. Ryan Norman runs 11th. Points leader Colton Herta is 12th. Second in points, Aaron Tielitz is 13th. Garth Rickards is 14th, and Santi Urrutia is in 15th. Davey, I know the season is very young, but to have 1 and 2 in points already buried deep in the field in 12th and 13th, that's going to throw a curveball and brings a lot of guys that maybe didn't have a great St. Pete weekend right back into this hunt.
Yeah, no, it's definitely going to help some of these guys for sure. But right now, even with him buried in there, Herta still has a nice points lead, even if it was to finish this way. So that tells you how big of a points lead getting a first and a second in the first 2 races of the season really jumped him out there. But this can equalize it a lot right here.
Nico Jamin continues to pick him up and lay him down. We mentioned moments ago that lead was at 2 seconds. Now it is at 2.5 seconds over Kyle Kaiser, who the car appears to have come to him a little bit more after getting a little contact from Colton Herta on that opening lap. Let's check in with Rob Howden on pit lane with 22 laps to go.
Yeah, Nick, expecting Santi Urrutia to come back down here onto pit lane. We saw the kind of the effect of that damage. Pato O'Ward climbing up on the back of him in turn number 1. There was, of course, damage to the rear wing. They were able to get that changed, but he's still complaining of some issues in the car. So they are, I believe, going to bring Santi Urrutia back in here. Even though he's a number of laps down or 2 laps down, he wants to stay out there because you never know what happens. So even a couple more cars going out, he would get a couple positions, but it looks like they're going to have to change a piece of suspension on the car of Santi Urrutia.
Yeah, Davey, when an accident happens at the beginning of the race, of course those guys on the crew want to fix the car efficiently, but boy, you put yourself down a lap early on, and then all of a sudden it's an uphill battle all day.
Yeah, it sure does. But one thing they remember is it's not just about getting laps and points. There is another race, qualifying and race tomorrow, so they don't want to go make a mistake today. Now, if there wasn't anything going on tomorrow, they may just say, hey, we got to just go for it and try to get as much as we can out of this particular race, but knowing that that's more important picture, and that is get into race tomorrow.
So Santi Urrutia has brought that number 5, that golden black Aero Mazda, to pit lane to the attention of the Bilardi Auto Racing crew. His day, for all intents and purposes, in terms of trying to pick up a win, is gone. He had a good qualifying effort starting in the 4th spot, so tough way for his day to end, or to start, I should say. Nico Jamin, your leader, 9 laps in here at Barber Motorsports Park, 2.7 seconds over Kyle Kaiser. Then he's got a trio of dark blue teammates all driving for Trevor Carlin's organization. It's Alberico running in 3rd. Mateus Leist is in 4th. Zachary Clayman DeMello is in 5th. Those Carlin cars looking awful racy. They didn't have a really strong start to the season. Alberico's off to a good start. He had his first career podium, but Michael Young, as those dark blue Carlin cars, we're used to seeing them up at the front. They're all trying to run down Kyle Kaiser for second.
Yeah, indeed. Kyle Kaiser able to check out from Neil Alberico about 8 car lengths. I noticed Nico Jamin, our leader, who's got about that 2-second gap, nearly 3 now. It's about 2 or 3 laps ago, Nick. He came off of turn 17 and he kicked up a little dust. I'm sure the heart rate jumped quite a bit for Nico in those moments, but I've watched him the last few times and he's been spot on, at least hitting those spots as he makes his way around this 17-turn course. But as he makes his way now into turn number 12, Nico Jamin continues to build on that lead. Kyle Kaiser not nearly under assault yet from Neil Alberico, although, as you said, Neil's starting to close in.
Jake Query, did you happen to see that pass Colton Herta just made on Ryan Norman?
I did. As a matter of fact, Ryan Norman, you could tell, didn't know which way that Colton Herta was going to go. He managed to get around him to the outside, and as a result of that, Norman seemed to kind of check it up just a little bit. It was almost as if he figured that he wasn't going to win that battle, let him go by so that everybody was clean.
Got a good battle shaping up here between a pair of teammates. Might have very nearly made contact. Juan Pedrojita and Pato O'Ward. They'll come across the start-finish line. This is a battle for the 8th position as Pedrojita, the veteran, has that spot. And Pato O'Ward, the driver from Mexico, is all over that rear wing, Michael Young, as they climb the hill in turn 4. Pedrojita with a nice run as he runs in 8th position.
Yeah, Pato dropping back just a little bit. Now Nicholas DePero trying to make a move on Pato O'Ward. That allows Colton Herta to close in. So these drivers battling for 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th. Again, as Jake Query had said, nice pass by Colton Herta. Still about 4 car lengths behind DePero as that gap between the 2 Pelfrey teammates gaps themselves just a little bit more.
Yeah, Herta is right there. As a matter of fact, just as everybody starts to get a little imbalanced heading into turn number 9, he tries to close in, can't make the move at this point. So again, he's going to have to settle in just behind that trio in front of him, Mike.
Here comes Colton Herta. He's trying to run down, again, Nico DePera running in the 10th position. How frustrating is that, David, to know you've got a strong race car, and here at Barber Motorsports Park, there's not a lot of good places to pass. We're watching Colton Herta. He's slinging that race car around.
Yeah, he's driving it for everything it's worth, and that's part of what we talked about earlier, is with no pit stop strategy and no pit stops in his race, it's so difficult to pass on this fast, windy up and down race course that track position is so important. That's why we see in a qualifying these guys throwing sticker tires on every time they had a chance just to try to get better position for starting.
And Herta appears to be using up that right front as he locked it up again through turn number 2. Those drivers will race down into the Charlotte's Web portion of the racetrack here in turn number 5. It's kind of a swooping left-hander. A lot of elevation change here at Barber Motorsports Park, but still everyone chasing after Nico Jamin. That lead has ballooned up to 3 seconds, 2.99 to be exact, over Kyle Kaiser. Then you got about a second back to Neil Alberico. Mateus Leist runs in 4th. Zachary Clayman DeMello sits in the 5th spot. Dalton Kellett is 6th. Shelby Blackstock 7th. Juan Pedrojita 8th. Pato O'Ward is 9th. And Nico DePero trying to hold off Colton Herta to stay in the top 10. How about an update on our current leader, Nico Jamin, down on pit lane with Ryan Marine?
Now, this is a guy, Nick, that has had some success at this track in the past. His first win on the Mazda Road to Indy ladder came right here at Barber back in F2000. That was race 2 of the weekend in 2015. He's a rookie in Indy Lights, as is over half the field this year. But this is a guy, too, that is coming off of a solid third-place result in Pro Mazda last season that saw him really go on a tear in the second half of the campaign. He was driving for Kate Motorsports with Wayne Taylor Racing. Didn't have a podium until Road America Race 2 halfway through the year last year, but from then on had no finishes worse than 4th, which he had 2 times. Everything else was on the podium, including 2 wins coming at Mid-Ohio. So really a guy who closes the season strong. Didn't get off to a great weekend at St. Petersburg. He's 11th in points coming into this weekend, but still, if he can put together a strong start to the season, we know he's a finisher, and he's definitely going to put himself as a championship contender if this race result holds. Rob Howden, you have more?
You know, Ryan, you picked it up right there. You talk about Mid-Ohio and Nico Jamin. We really shouldn't be that surprised that he's so good here on this natural terrain road course. You can essentially call him Mr. Mid-Ohio. He is 5 for 5 over the last 2 years at Mid-Ohio in USF 2000, swept all 3 races in 2015. Last year in Pro Mazda 2016, won both races in Pro Mazda. He is 5 for 5 in the last 5 races at Mid-Ohio. Of course, that racetrack in Ohio, very similar to this natural terrain road course here at Barber Motorsports Park. Nick Yeoman, we've been watching this kid come up through the Mazda Road to Indy. He likes these purpose-built racetracks, and he's showing it here again. He's trying to get another natural terrain road course win.
Yeah, he is super talented. We've made so much about the rookies in Aaron Telitz and Colton Herta, who picked up the victories at St. Petersburg, but Nico Jamin's another one of those drivers in his first year that is going for this Indy Lights title. Good battle shaping up for the 4th position. Matthias Lace just locked him up at the bottom of the hill. Jake Query, a pair of Carlin Racing teammates, laced, followed by Clayman DeMello heading to turn 8.
Yeah, this seems to be getting closer each time they come past. Clayman DeMello, and just in front of him, as you talked about, laced. Of course, they have Alberico, the 3rd of that trio, in front of them, but he's got about a 12 car length advantage. Nick, I get the feeling that it might be within the next couple of circuits, perhaps we could see a pass.
Michael Young, Colton Herta is trying to fight his way back through the field. He's running in the 11th position, and things getting a little rough towards the back of the pack.
Boy, he tried to get around Nicholas DePero there in Charlotte's Web, got to the outside of DePero in turn number 5, nearly made contact with DePero, and instead of forcing the issue, he gave DePero that spot back. It's still a very good race car for Colton Herta. I wouldn't be too surprised if he tries to make a move this time by.
David, we've had the chance here in our broadcast booth to watch some of the onboard shots, specifically with Colton Herta, and he's really fighting the steering wheel. I imagine all of these guys have their hands full for this entire race.
Yeah, and we can see in turn 2, a lot of tire smoke where the car really unloads on that right front tire, and they're getting a lot of tire smoke. So you got to be careful with that because it overheats the tire, number 1. It could flat spot a little bit. Even in Charlotte's Web, some of the areas, sometimes they have some tire smoke in that area as well. So that's one thing. It's tire management. You have to take care of them. And the more you lock them up, the worse it's going to get later on. But Colton Herta, he is driving that thing for all it's worth. But I'm sure that he knows, and his team is telling him, big picture, just do what you can. Don't make any risks, because he still has a great points lead. He is at 69 points. If this race was to end right now, he has 68 points. Next closest car to him would be Kyle Kaiser at 60. Still a nice points lead going in, even if it ended right now. So, look at the big picture, try to win this championship at the end of this year, and just don't take any more risks.
Let's hear from the car owner of the drivers running 3rd through 5th. Ryan Marine is standing by on pit lane with Trevor Carlin.
That's right, the man behind Carlin Racing joining me here. You've got 3 of your cars all running in lockstep, that close together. What goes through your mind when you see all your cars out there that close to one another on the racetrack?
Well, obviously you're hoping that they're not going to shunt into each other, but they're all good guys, so I trust them. I think Matthias is nursing a very badly flat-spotted front left tyre, so it's going to make his life very difficult. I think if he gets in trouble, he'll probably have to let Zach through, but yeah, so far the guys are doing a perfect job.
When do you get on the radio and communicate that to your guys in the race cars to make those moves on track, if that is the decision you guys would like to make?
To be honest, we don't make any decisions like that. We let them get on with it. Yeah, it's their race. We let them, they are in a better position than us to see what's going on. So, yeah, we trust them.
Let you get back up on the box. Thanks so much.
Thanks, no worries.
Back up top.
Appreciate that, Ryan. Trevor Carlin's built an impressive organization in the Indy Lights Series. Not just in Indy Lights, Davey. I mean, overseas, everyone knows about Carlin Racing. They've been developing drivers that have come to the Verizon IndyCar Series, have raced in Formula One, and that model that Trevor Carlin brought over here to the States, here in the Indy Lights Series, it appears to be working once again.
It's great to see. I mean, when they unloaded last year, how impressive was that? I mean, right from Europe to victory circles. So very, very impressive. These guys, they see how difficult it is. It's not like they just come over here and control, but, we keep an eye on Herta. And he passed Norman a few laps ago, but man, Norman is all over the back of him at certain places on the racetrack. So that battle's not over yet either.
Yeah, I kind of wondered if after Herta cleared Norman, if he'd take care of DePero pretty easily, but give Nico DePero a lot of credit. He has held off that hard-charging Colton Herta towards the further back in the pack. Again, it's Nico Jamin, your leader after 17 laps, 13 to go, or 21 minutes. Probably going to balance out towards the end of this event. Jamin is your leader. Kaiser runs in the second position. Neil Alberico is third. Laced is fourth. Clayman DeMello is fifth. How about another interview on pit lane with Rob Howden down there here at Barber Motorsports Park?
Yeah, Nick Yeoman, normally when we come here to Barber Motorsports Park, we're going to have the entire 3 rungs of the Mazda Road to Indy. Of course, absent this weekend, the Pro Mazda Championship. That series actually truncated down to just 6 weekends this year. We'll be back next year with a brand new race car. Standing here with Scott Elkins, of course, the race director for the USF 2000 Championship, and also the architect of the new PM18 car, the Tatis-built chassis, brand new Mazda power plant, tons of horsepower. You guys tested just last week. You had Joel Miller in that brand new car at Mid-Ohio, and all I'm hearing in the paddock right now is rave reviews. You guys did a great job with this car. Can you tell me about your thoughts of being at Mid-Ohio and seeing it turn the laps for the first time?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's a culmination of a long time. It's a unique perspective because the PM18 is based off the USF 17. I don't think that's ever been done before. So a guy can just get a USF 17 and then move up with a handful of parts to the next level. The test at Mid-Ohio was incredible. The power plant does exactly what we want. It's 100 more horsepower. So what that means is it's actually going to require the drivers to worry about rear tire wear, which is the perfect step into moving up into Indy Lights, which those guys obviously have to deal with. Joel did a great job. The guys at Tatis did a great job. Elite Engines. I mean, it's amazing what we've been able to do with this PM18.
Anytime you bring a new race car out, we start looking at lap times, and I've heard that you guys were down to pretty much what the old Pro Mazda was, and you guys really haven't even dialed on the car. This was shaking the car down, not letting the team go out there and really work on it.
Yeah, we're not a race team. We're a development team, and we're here to do everything in regards to reliability and making sure everything works when we hand it to the teams. So we were actually the first team on Mid-Ohio's racetrack since the snow. So the track was really green. We know there's at least a second to a second and a half of the racetrack. And again, we didn't touch the car. The dampers were all set at 12 o'clock. We didn't do anything. And we were right there. So once it gets into the hand of a race team, we know it's going to be a massive improvement.
You know, one thing I think is really interesting and exciting is the fact that you talk about that the USF 2000 car can be upgraded to become the PM18. It's essentially the same chassis. You put on new bolt-on components, more aero, et cetera, et cetera. But the car that you guys used as the test bed for Pro Mazda, the one you just tested, was actually a USF 2000 show car that you guys updated yourself. So you really proved the point yourself.
Yeah, that's exactly what we did. It's the exact same car we used for the USF 17 testing. One of the coolest things about it, I think, is that, and you can see it here, obviously, the rear tires on the USF car are the front tires on the PM18. So you look at that, you realize how big of a rear tire it has, the more performance. But yeah, we did it. We changed some bodywork, put a new engine in it. The USF 17 became a PM18.
John Dudon's standing by here with us here as well. We'll go to him, but first off, I saw some video. That engine sounded so good.
Yeah, it's I think the appropriate word is screams. Yeah, it's incredible, and we can't even imagine what it's going to be like to have a full fleet of them racing. It's just incredible, and the power from the Mazda motor is perfect, and it's really, really good.
Scott Elkins, thank you so much. Fantastic job. Nico Jamin leading by over 4 seconds right now. John Noonan, the guys at Elite Engine, Steve and Logan Knapp did such an incredible job on that new motor, and I've heard it. It sounds fantastic. 280 horsepower. Just another new advancement for Mazda within this road to Indy. You guys got to be pleased.
We're extremely pleased, Rob. This program has continued to grow, and we're just talking to one of my colleagues, Jim Bowie, and the talent level and the competition here has reached a new height, in my opinion, in our staff's opinion. We brought the best talent. We've always talked about value for the customer. There's huge scholarships available to champions from the Mazda Road to Indy, and then it comes down to the package. And what's happened with the USF 17 and now the PM18, it's unheard of. It starts at the heart with the MZR Mazda power plant. The engine's bulletproof. What Steve and Logan have done, you know, you got teams running for championships with 6-year-old motors, and we're really proud of that. But it's all about value for the customers and the teams. And you see these drivers stepping up every part of the Mazda Road to Indy, to the Verizon IndyCar Series, and makes all of us really proud that we've had a hand in that.
I know that when those drivers you watch come through the road to Indy end up at the Indianapolis 500, it's something you get a lot of pride from as well. You and I were there last year on the front straightaway. You looked around and saw so many young kids that have come through this program starting in the Indianapolis 500. That's a huge thing for Mazda.
It is, and I hope all the fans sitting on the hills here today and those watching streaming and watching on television realize that what you're seeing now are the future stars of the Verizon IndyCar Series, and they've all come through the Mazda Road to Indy, and makes us real proud. Mazda's brand is about the love of driving, and I think we've given all these kids the right platform to do it.
John, thank you so much.
Thanks.
Nick Yeoman, there's some great people down here, and I'll tell you, when we get to see a full field of those PM18s with that new screaming 280 horsepower Mazda MZR power plant, that is really going to raise this thing to the next level.
Yeah, it's going to be awful cool to see the advancements, not just in the Indy Lights series, but in the entire Mazda Road to Indy ladder system, and of course Mazda doing such a great partner for all three of those developmental series, Davies. They produce some really good racing engines, and the designs of these cars. I mean, they're not rolling out cars anymore that are 6, 7, 8 years old. They're really up in the technology, and the design of these cars are awesome.
You know, one thing with Mazda as well is the scholarship program. You know, when you get that scholarship program, to really allows these drivers to go from one series to the next series, and that's just awesome, because that's where these drivers, that's incentive to win a championship. And then, for example, we're watching the Indy Lights. Whoever wins this championship gets to go to IndyCar, but it starts way down the ladder, and even at the MX-5 level. But 2000s can go to the Mazda series, the Pro Mazda series. The Pro Mazda go to Indy Light. So with Mazda being involved with all that group and all the road to Indy and helping these drivers get to the next level, man, it's hats off to those guys.
Promise you're not missing a whole lot up front. Nico Jamin is just dominating this race. The lead is now up to 4 seconds over Kyle Kaiser. Some pretty good battles throughout the pack. Alberico's been putting the pressure on Kaiser for the second spot. Shelby Blackstock is trying to hold off Juan Pedrohita and Pato Ward for 7th, but no passes there yet. And we've been watching Colton Herta locking up those front tires all over this racetrack as he's tried to grab the 10th spot from Nico DePero. None of those drivers, though, have been close enough to make moves and pick up positions. How about one of our Indy Lights graduates? He started in the Indianapolis 500. It's a guy who is no stranger to the Advanced Auto Parts IndyCar Radio Network. He's joined us many, many times. We like him a great deal. Stephen Wilson standing by on pit lane with Ryan Marine.
Yeah, down in the Pelfrey pits, as a matter of fact, by Juan Pedrohita's set up here. Stephen Wilson, kind enough to join us on the Advanced Auto Parts IndyCar Radio Network. I know you've been in the news a lot here recently, and we'll get to that in a moment. But first, what are you doing here this weekend? What's the association with Pelfrey that has you down here?
Yeah, so I'm obviously a graduate of the Indy Lights series, and it's great to be here and kind of catch a race. You know, this weekend just really spectating and taking it all in, doing some networking.
And on the subject of networking, I think by now most people know the story. Fernando Alonso coming to the Indy 500. You, of course, had a hand in that. And look, I can see the face that you're making. I know it was not easy to step out of the race car to facilitate that, but you were able to help IndyCar and Alonso make that move. There have been some assurances made that you'll be able to make an attempt at the Indy 500 next year. When did they come to you? How difficult was that thought process? What did you go through, if you don't mind?
Yeah. Obviously, not an ideal situation to be in, and obviously, I'm, a little bit of disappointment not to be in the Indy 500 this year. That race means so much to me. But at the same time, it was just a decision that I felt like was good for the series, the Indianapolis 500 as itself, and my sponsors as well. So, sponsors being Gap Guard and Indiana Donor Network, and that's why I'm right here in this pitch here with Team Pelfrey, supporting Team Pelfrey and Gap Guard in the Indy Lights series.
Now that program would have been with Andretti Autosport. That said, we're not at 33 car and driver entries yet for the 500. Are you poking your head around? Are you looking at other options at this point?
Of course, yeah. I mean, the assurances are made for the 2018 Indy 500, but hey, I'm going to have my helmet ready to go and be fit and ready in case anything happens in May 2017, because if there's ever an opportunity to get in a car, then I'm going to take it.
All right, thank you very much for the time. Really appreciate it, and best of luck. We hope to see you on the grid in May.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
All right, Stephen Wilson down here on pit lane, really, quite literally and also metaphorically being the bigger man as far as it comes to the Fernando Alonso situation. Sounds like there is some hope that possibly something else can materialize, but I guess we'll see, so stay tuned.
Davey, of course, Stefan's older brother, the late Justin Wilson, was on the drivers' committee, the leadership circle for IndyCar. All the drivers trusted his input and trusted his judgment on so many things in terms of car safety and racetrack development and everything like that. you sense a little bit out of Stephen Wilson, seeing the big picture, knowing that, man, this Alonso story, I mean, it's had legs, it's been huge, and as tough as it is for him not to be in a car right now and competing in the Indy 500, still awful impressed with that young man.
Yeah, well, Stephen, well, that family, what class, from Justin to Stephen, I mean, just super class guys. And for him to be doing this, to have Alonso come over, that's a big sacrifice for him because he is the up-and-coming guy. He wants to be in this series full-time. He had his opportunity to be in the 500 for a second time. And, things change up. But you know what? He sees the big picture of the sport. And it's not just about him. It's not just about their family at times. It's about the sport that they love so much. And so as hard as it is for him, he made a decision that he thought would be better for the series, for the Indy 500. Like I said, he'll be back in 2018. But he has that helmet ready. We heard that as well. He has that helmet ready. There still is one more spot to be filled for this year's Indy 500, and hopefully that could be him.
Well, let's check in with Rob Howden down on pit lane for more on that.
We're talking about that one spot that's left, well, at least one of the spots that's left right now, and of course that's the car for Uncos Racing, and I think a lot of us were kind of expecting that could be Kyle Kaiser. Good battle on the racetrack right now, guys, as I'm watching the two Team Pelfrey drivers of Pedrohita and Award are diced it out, but we'll come back to that. Just real briefly, I went and actually talked to Ricardo Juncos before the start of this race, and I said, hey, listen, tell me, is Kaiser running for you at the 500? When are you going to announce it? And Ricardo looked at me and said, it's not going to be Kyle. He said, I have a handful of guys I'm talking to right now, but it's very, very likely not going to be Kyle Kaiser. So, guys, this could be interesting. There's a number of drivers, as you said, Davey, still looking after that last ride, that one with Uncos Racing, but I'm being told will not be the Indy Lights driver, Kyle Kaiser.
That's very interesting. And I know there's been some other names. I know several of them, actually, and former IndyCar drivers, sometimes some of them full-time. Names are in the hat, so we'll just have to wait and see. But we expect 2 cars coming out of that camp, not just one, so that could leave 2 seats open. So interesting to see who that's going to be.
Boy, Juan Pedrohita's had a rough last lap as he lost that spot that Rob called to Pato O'Ward, who got around him in turn 17. Nico DePero took a late look and made the pass in turn number 5. Colton Herta has passed Juan Pedrohita, so move all of those drivers up another spot. Up front, though, it is Nico Jamin with 3 laps to go here at Barber Motorsports Park. Jamin climbs the hill, Michael Young, in turn number 4. Kyle Kaiser, Neil Alberico still about 3 to 4 seconds behind.
Those magical days for Nico Jamin. He enters turn number 5 now. Kyle Kaiser is there now. That's the 3-second gap. Neil Alberico actually has been closing in, and every time he'll get within 2-3 car lengths, he'll lose a car spot or 2, and then he'll drop back 5 car lengths. Then those other 2 Carlin cars, Dalton Kellett rides by himself. A nice battle here in these closing laps with 3 to go. Shelby Blackstock and then the Pato O'Ward machine, Nicholas DePero and Colton Herta, all have gapped that number 2 of Juan Pedrohita. Now he is under attack by Ryan Norman. They climb up the hill in the eyes of Jake Query. Jake, here comes Shelby Blackstock and that herd of Pelfrey cars.
Yeah, very fractured field at this point because Jamin has already gone in through turn number 12 and 13. That tells you just how fractured it is because the back of the field now works its way out of turn number 9. That involves Colton Herta, and then about 20 yards or so behind him, Pedrohita, who he dispatched a lap ago.
Yeah, and Pedrohita may have his hands full before this race is done with Ryan Norman and Aaron Telitz, who have just been stuck there at the back of the field, haven't been able to make up a whole lot of ground. Telitz runs in 13th, Herta runs in 10th. Those are your 2 drivers that entered this weekend, 1 and 2 in points. Up front, though, Nico Jamin, just 2 laps to go. He'll make his way through the left-hander of turn number 5 down at the bottom of the hill. Kyle Kaiser trying to hold off Neil Alberico, but just a lap and a half to go. Jake Query for that driver from France. Nico Jamin headed to you in turn number 8.
Nico Jamin works his way through turn number 8 and then turn number 9. Does so without making a mistake. Nick, he says his favorite sport outside of racing is golf. Only fitting that at the place we call the Augusta National of the motorsports world, that Jamin would be having his way today with Barber Motorsports Park.
Davey, he took advantage on the restart, made a quick pass on Kyle Kaiser, and then has set sail. 3.1 seconds right now on a dominating Saturday drive for Nico Jamin.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just flawless, too, and being able to check out that big of a lead. And you know that I look at his lap times, and he's just staying the same. I mean, the first and second place, the lap times are almost identical to each other, just doing what he has to do to keep that distance between them, and he just now takes the white flag.
Tom Hansing waves the white flag. 1 to go here on this 17-turn tricky road course in Birmingham, Alabama. Nico Jamin softly through turns 3 and 4, runs right there in the middle of the racetrack. Michael Young for the final time. Here comes the French driver, Nico Jamin.
And for Nico Jamin, that magical season of 2015 in the USF 2000 Series, a winner here in race number 2. Last year, a 4th and a 6th. I said to him at the start of the weekend, you're pretty good here. He's like, last year was just okay. I think he will be very happy with this result. Turn 8 for the final time. Bring him home. Nico Jamin, Jake Query.
The forecast was for the chance of precipitation later in the evening. The sun has been splashing down on both Barber Motorsports Park intermittently throughout the afternoon, but it's been shining very, very brightly on that Frenchman who takes his way around turn number 12 and 13, Nick, on his way to a win in Alabama.
The defending series champion in IndyCar is from France. That is Simon Pagenaud. The current Verizon IndyCar Series points leader, Sébastien Bourdais, he is from France. This may be another one in the talented line of talented French drivers here in the Indy Lights Series. Out of turn number 17, Nico Jamin will swerve back and forth. He'll see the checkered flag and score career win number 1 in the Indy Lights Series presented by Cooper Tires. Jamin picks up the win. Kyle Kaiser comes across the line in second. Neil Alberico finishes third. Those Carlin teammates finish third, fourth, and fifth with Alberico, Laced, and Clayman DeMello.
The Mazda Indy Lights Grand Prix of Alabama presented by Cooper Tires. Race 1 goes to Nico Jamin. Nico, it's got to feel pretty great. You're a winner here now in the Indy Lights Championship presented by Cooper Tires.
Yeah, that just feels amazing, especially after the weekend we had at St. Pete. I was really looking forward to come back here and bounce back. And that's exactly what we did. The pace in qualifying was quite incredible for the whole Andretti team. And I was able to get the lead on the first lap. I knew that's why I had to make it happen. Attack mode, first lap, that worked out great. And then, my car was just very consistent. Thanks to Mazda and Cooper Tires, because we were able to run the same kind of lap time during the whole race. The tires were absolutely amazing, and I'm just a happy man today.
You're a happy man. How good does it just feel to get that checkered flag before anybody else?
Oh, it just feels so amazing. I already can't wait for tomorrow and try to do it all again, because that's a pretty special feeling.
All right, he'll be going for the win in the 400th Indy Lights race tomorrow afternoon. Nico, congratulations.
Thank you very much.